And so my proposal is that imams and chaplains work together, that communities take advantage of their local Muslim chaplains. So for example, if a community discovers that a Muslim chaplain works at a hospital in their community, due to the nature of that type of occupation, that Muslim chaplain is in the best respect able to help someone who's dealing with a loss in the family, dealing with someone who's battling an addiction, for example. And so, if a Muslim chaplain exists in a community, that outside community should take advantage of him and consider him or her, because actually Muslim chaplains can also be female, that they take advantage of the fact that these people are in their community. And furthermore, that if a community can afford it, they actually hire their own Muslim chaplain. Now, there are some Muslim chaplains who you might have already heard of because of the fact that they are becoming a little bit more well-known, especially university chaplains. Those in education usually get more publicity than those in a hospital, prison, or military, although you guys are probably familiar with Yusuf Yi, who unfortunately is well-known because he was put in Guantanamo. You guys remember that? About 5-6 years ago? Okay. How old are you guys? So he was a Muslim chaplain and he worked in Guantanamo, and the military put him away because they believed he was working with the prisoners in a secretive way, which he was later excused of. So, yeah, subhanAllah. And so, so some of the people who you might hear of today, and you should know of because they're great people to turn to, is, for example, at Princeton University you have Sohaib Sultan, at Yale University you have Omar Bajwa, at Georgetown you have Yahya Hindi, at Brown University you have David Coolidge, at Trinity and Wesleyan you have Marwa Ali, and then myself, I work at a private boarding school in Connecticut called Choate Rosemary Hall. So we have these varying different people who can be, and this is just a small list, and this is primarily just the East Coast. But these are people who communities should look to as assets to help the surrounding wider Muslim community. Now, Muslim chaplains like those I have named, and many others, should be sought out because the community is starving for mental health services. And when I say mental health services, it's not just simply like a person with schizophrenia or something like that. It is basically kind of like what I described with Ahmed earlier. Okay, a person trying to find out how to deal with peer pressures. Or even a person who is facing an alcohol addiction. You know, it's unfortunate that as Muslims we of course understand that alcohol is something that's prohibited by our faith. But do we offer anyone a way to deal with their addiction if they're facing it? Or do we just kick them out of the community, even if they want to get over it? Do we provide them a way to get over it? Again, this is a service that we should deeply consider. Because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there was a companion at the time who used to get drunk all the time. Right? And there was actually a penalty which they had to pay for that. And one time, one of the companions, they started just accusing him, like, you know, come on, man. Like, they started harassing the person who was getting drunk all the time. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, stopped him and said, hey, don't harass him. Because I swear by God, he loves God and his messenger. The fact that he was addicted to alcohol did not get in the way that the Prophet, peace upon him, still said that this person still loved God and his messenger. But he was facing an addiction. So do we have routes like this in our community? Or do we just kick people out if we see that they're battling this problem? A healthy community provides alternatives. Now, an imam and a Muslim chaplain working together can actually provide professional services for the future of our community. Interestingly enough, when the Muslim chaplain and the imam work together, they can actually assist each other in what each other is better qualified to handle. For example, the imam is usually better qualified to handle questions of fiqh, like for example matters of prayer and so on and so forth, fasting and so on. Matters of theology, and also teaching aspects of the Quran. But the chaplain is better trained to deal with those social needs. And so when a person has a particular issue which deals with that, they can be directed to the chaplain. And if the question is more so about like fiqh or law or theology, they can be directed to the imam unless the chaplain knows the answer to the question. And while working together, the imam and the chaplain will actually be teaching each other too these skills, right? And they'll be teaching each other this knowledge, which will again help the community. And I think like most people, when we notice the imam is usually a very busy person. So providing more people to come in to be able to help out some of this stuff will be a welcomed alternative, I believe, by many imams. So, in conclusion, I would just like to state that the community has growing and diverse needs. The ideal way for these needs to be fulfilled or responded to is not to expect our imams to be super Muslims, nor to allow our imams to believe that they are super Muslims. Because all it does is it means that critical issues are not being fully addressed by people who have been trained to respond to that particular problem. Rather, we need to recognize that there are different roles within the community that need to be filled by the people who have been properly trained to fill those roles. We need to understand that we as a community share the responsibility of the community, and not one single super Muslim is going to stand up or rise up and right all the wrongs, solve all the problems. The problems and the health of the community is equally shared in each of our own hands. Now, this will take time for us to make this transition from the super Muslim ideal or paradigm to another one, which is a more pluralistic idea of leadership, the idea of multiple roles. And it'll take investing in people instead of just buildings. It's unfortunate that so much money is dedicated to buildings, millions of dollars, and then they want to pay an imam $30,000 a year. And he's the only person who works at the Islamic Center, working 50 hours a week. But he's doing it for the sake of God, so, you know, don't worry about his family. So, that's another issue. So this is the perfect time, I believe, to make this transition because those before us have already laid the groundwork. They've already created the Islamic sacred spaces. They've already laid the groundwork for creating these Islamic centers. Now we're at a transitional point in American Muslim history where we're investing now and need to invest in people who are truly the pillars of the buildings that we're placing them in. And the increasing reliance upon the mosque to provide not only religious services for the Muslim community, but also mental health and social has shown, and I hope that I've shown here tonight as well, that providing leaders who are trained in pastoral skills has become both needed and necessary for the health of our community. Thank you so much. So, I'll take just